Good morning, and thank you all for being part of this meaningful day and event commemorating the Pearl Harbor anniversary. My name is Ricky Chen, and I'm here to share with you a brief history of R0, and it's a story of international collaboration. And the story starts off halfway across the Pacific. To your left on the screen, in Indonesia, an island called Babo Airfield. This is where our X-133 has started, and you will see that it's standing on the oil drum when we first saw it. And photo back in 1973, and the more color photo is taken a little bit later, 1991. And this is a photo of how we recovered the Zero. You'll see that some of the airframe is boxed up in these wood. They were actually negotiated with the natives to take structure out of their hut so that they could put this aircraft in a crate and be ready to be shipped back to the United States. And this aircraft and scrap was sent back to Santa Monica, the Museum of Flight. And one of our volunteers, Bill Carbone, he received this aircraft, and he noted there were still some spider webs that had built up on the crate over the months of voyage across the ocean. And while in the museum, Bill had restored the tail section of this Zero that seat in front of you. And back then he still had some mustache, and a Japanese visitor who saw the effort or moved by the sincerity of their effort, and they had an article on this restoration project. And during this project, Bill reportedly had recovered rivets that may have been left over during the manufacturing process. And we still have samples of that in our possession. And in addition, some of these nameplates he also kept, which he had donated to our museum. And we also believe the original landing gear is still being used on our aircraft here today. And as I mentioned, the visitor from Japan, they were moved by the sincerity of the efforts, and sometime later, a Japanese delegate showed up and presented full prints, original factory prints of the Mitsubishi Zero. Now these prints were supposedly ordered destroyed by General MacArthur during the US occupation of Japan. And we speculate that these prints may have been hidden in the cave when the going got really tough for the Japanese, and they moved all their manufacturing underground in the countryside. And so the wreck, the restored tail, and the prints went to, of all places, Russia to have them built up. And Russia at the time, if you recall, was transitioning from centralized economy to market economy, or what they were calling the perestroika. And they were hungry for projects. And so they took on the project to build the rest of the aircraft. The top photo you see there, way in the back, that little green airframe there is the Zero that's being rebuilt. And at the bottom you see the Russian technicians building up this aircraft and this airframe. And so in about 2003 or 4, our museum had acquired this Zero, and it's been flying with us ever since. It's one of the 5 only Zero that flies in the world. And out of these 5, ours is the most active and ready. And we go to air shows in Gillespie, in Oregon, in El Centro. It was in Point Mugu. And so it's one of the most frequently flying active Zero in the world today. And the material I'm sharing with you, some of you probably have heard when you come to our air show. Here are the sources that where the information came from. Just so you know, I didn't make this up. And you'll see that next photo, we have contributions from Phil Carbone, who rebuilt the tail. He supplied a lot of photos. And also Craig Rembold in the back there, he contributed to this next photo here. And with that, we'll get ready to fly. And just before we start flying, we're going to have a Q&A session. I'm going to hand this back to Rob. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for questions for either Ron, who's still over there taking a break, or myself, or Ricky. Yes.
One of the early photographs of the airplane sitting in the jungle, the wing was folded. Why would it be folded in the jungle?
Would you mind repeating the question, please?
Sure. The question was one of the old photos, so let's say early 90s, that Ricky had found of this airplane sitting in the jungle, abandoned there at the airfield, had its wingtips folded. And the question was why? Because it certainly appears that the aircraft wasn't combat damaged, it was there undergoing maintenance, as Ricky pointed out. I'm not sure why they would have done that. Maybe they did that to park the aircraft closer together there in their revetments, or what they considered their parking plan by the airfield, similar to how we have our wingtips folded around the ramp here almost all the time, just to ease the movement of the airplane in conjunction with other airplanes. Not real sure, Gino, I'm guessing. What else? Yeah, John. The which Zero? Here's what I've read. That again, the question was what happened to the Alaskan Zero, the one that we brought out of the marsh there down to Navy San Diego, got it back into flying condition, flew it for some period of time. I think it was a couple of years. And then I read it was still down there doing some operations, and the replacement for the Dauntless, the Helldiver, the SB-2C, was taxiing and didn't see it in front of it and chopped it to pieces. And so it's now probably gone. I've not heard whether, well, Chris may know. Okay, the answer was pieces of it after it was chopped up by one of our new fighters, or sorry, one of our new attack planes. His pieces are in the Smithsonian. Yes, John. I do know at the time the Japanese doctrine was a massed strike, so they wouldn't send piecemeal. Hey, we've got 6 airplanes to go out. We can attack whatever, land or a carrier. We're going to wait until we have a mass strike. We have a bunch of our fighters, we have a bunch of our dive bombers, we have a bunch of our torpedo planes, and we're going to put them all out and send them. So that would tell me a lot for each wave. They would have a full complement of all their airplanes. Yes?
Can we have our young impersonator come forward so we can see him and let him tell us about his uniform?
Certainly. Chris?
Hello everyone, my name is Chris Eubanks and I've been here for 4 years. This uniform is of an Imperial Japanese pilot and it was given to me by one of our Japanese mechanics here, Yoshi Abe. And I like to wear this uniform anytime we have events regarding our Zero or Japanese.
Excellent, good. Yes, Craig?
You mentioned that later in the war, they found the 7.7 millimeters were less than effective against the heavier armor. How did they augment that? Did they go to larger caliber in the Callan guns, or what did they do?
Yes, in the A6M5, they made some adjustments to the cowling. They took those guns out, and you would see in the later A6M5s, you would see more guns in the wings. And that would be to change the caliber and the size of it. They stuck with the 20 millimeter. I don't know all the details, but yes, they changed fairly regularly, and they put them in the wings so they could add more ordnance, because they did 60 rounds of 20 millimeter will go really, really fast. So I don't have the details, but yes, they were messing with the ordnance and their armament with that 5 model all the way to the end of the war.
Yeah, what they did, they went to something like a 12.5, which is very similar to a 50 caliber. That's what they went to.
Okay, anything else?
I got your numbers. I like people more than I like numbers. The attack started out with 6 carriers, 423 airplanes. The first attack wave was 183 Japanese airplanes, and the second wave of 167 airplanes.
So that's a lot of zeros with each wave. All right, any other questions? Okay, we're doing good on time here. So here's what our game plan is we're going to leave you up to your own devices to enjoy the rest of the museum here. On display, we obviously have the Zero. We're going to ask Chris to man his position over there, so you can ask him further questions if you wish about the gear. He's also extremely knowledgeable in pretty much any subject you want to bring up. There are a whole bunch of other airplanes, 4 other World War II era fighters here. We ask that you be respectful. All 5 of these airplanes and most of the other airplanes you see are all, not only are they flyable, but they fly regularly. So please treat them respectfully. There are some fabric control surfaces on many, if not most of these, so please be respectful to the international treasures we have out here. We've got some artifacts. Mr. Carr there is our guru. We've got some displays up, not only right up front, but also in the back of the museum. If you were going to leave the hangar here, we do ask that you be accompanied by one of our docents as you head out onto the ramp and over to our museum hangar right next door.